What's up everyone? Welcome to today's video. I'm gonna go over how I went from a 146 to a 252 on my step 2. And I gotta tell you, it was probably the most hard journey I've had in my academic career. So without further ado, let's get into what I did and how you too can excel on this exam. So first things first, before I get into all the details of what I did for studying, I'm gonna go over the journey of my test scores and the emotional roller coaster I had the whole journey. January 1st, 2024, I took my first step 2 practice test. I took specifically Uworld 1, or the whole acronym USWE1, whatever it's called. I took the first one and it was a 146. I have it up here on the screen, proof, the day I took it, the score I got. And no, I didn't purposely fail in this exam. I literally did not know the content. I had been doing third year, barely getting by, passing my shells, but like not really retaining the knowledge. I thought that at least if I'm passing my shells, I should be able to at least pass step 2, the 215 threshold. But no, I was at 146. I literally, that's probably like a 35-40% range. Yeah, and my goal was a 250 the whole time. I wrote it on a piece of paper, hung it up right next to my bed, and I saw it every single day, 250. That was my goal. And I knew the 35-40% had to be doubled because the only way to get a 250 is to get around 80% correct on this exam. And that I thought was a massive, massive challenge that I would have to move mountains, do miracles, have divine intervention, literally, not the podcast, literally have divine intervention in order for me to achieve this goal. And lo and behold, here I am sitting in June, month 6 of 2024, and I've completed this challenge. And I want to help you complete this challenge as well. So let's get into exactly what I did and how it all worked out. First off, I want to go over my scores. I'm going to read off this document right here. We already went over January 1st, 2024, 146. And then next exam I took, I don't remember the exact date, but it was a NBME 9. I got a 195. I was like, ooh, I got some hope. That was about a month later. So somewhere in end of January or February, beginning of February, I took that. After that, a couple weeks later, I took NBME 7, 175. Drop. After that, I took NBME 8, 198. Not bad, getting close to 200, but it's like mid-February right now, end of February. Or NBME 8, actually, NBME 8, I got 198, which was close to 200, that 200 magic number, but it was like early March, I think, when I took that. But now we're gonna get into exact numbers for everything. Uworld 3. I got an email like 2 weeks before taking this exam that Uworld 3 is out. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. March 31st, I took Uworld 3. 174. $174, guys. This is March 31st. My test was May 25th. I had a month and a half, or almost a full 2 months. I had almost full 2 months to figure out how the heck to get a 250.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I really panicked on that one. That one really made me panic, and I found the Anki deck called Junkie. We'll get into that later. April 13th, 2024, NBME 10, 226. Big jump, massive jump. I was like, woo, I'm finally in the 200s, and I'm past the passing threshold. And that was a good sign for me because literally 5 days later, April 18th, I had CCSE. So some schools do this, some don't. It's basically a practice exam you gotta pass if your med school makes you do it. And I had to get above 215. I got on my CCSE, I got a 232. Great, April 18th. I'm like, I got a month and 7 days left. No problem, I can do this, 250. Okay, well, the roller coaster continues. NBME 11, two weeks after, I believe, yeah, 2 weeks after that, like end of April, around April 27th, I got a 230. The same score as I had like 2 weeks prior in my CCSE. Not good. May 4th, 2024, NBME 12, 248. Amazing. I'm like, yes, 2 points off. I got 20 days left. I got this in the bag. May 11th, 2024, also Mother's Day. NBME 13, knocks on the door. 224, that's what it says. You know what I respond?
You fucking...
Stuff I can't say. I panicked beyond panic. It was terrible. I still remember that day. And we had to go to Mother's Day dinner, and I had to collect myself and act normal for Mother's Day, give all the respect. But yeah, if you guys seen that SpongeBob meme where like SpongeBob's like running around, mine's on fire, everything's just chaos, that was that day. May 11th, 2024. 224 was my score. That was lower than the score I had like a month and a half before this. And this was literally 2 weeks before my exam. Terrible. So after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do all the practice, every little detail I can to make sure I can get this 250. So May 15th, 4 days later, 2024, I take Uworld 2, USWE 2. Everyone says this is the most accurate, great exam. I already know I do terrible on Uworld, so I wasn't gonna be psyched out if I get a terrible score. I just wanna get the practice, I wanna get the knowledge. That was my mindset. 218. May 15th, 218. Yeah, I didn't want to psych myself out. I already told myself I'm going to get low and it's Uworld. I learned so much content from that, and yeah, went on. May 18th, 1 week before my exam. NBME 14, 243. Yeah, got into 240s. I feel like I actually can get into 240s, and after correcting NBA 13 silly mistakes, I was like, I can at least do 240s, but I'm not satisfied with this. I set a goal at the beginning of the year to get 250. I've envisioned the 250. I see it every day in front of me, 250 on the wall. That's the goal. 240s isn't gonna get me excited. So, free 120, May 22nd, 2024, 76%. Now, there's no raw number that's accurate that I found out there, but basically this range was like 245 to 250s was like the prediction about average and what people are getting at the 76%. May 25th, 2024, real test day. Got my score back, 252. Literally did the law of attraction, literally put in every single detailed thought I could think of into fruition on the day of the test. Still can't believe it happened. But anyways, that aside, you can skip this. I'll make sure there's like a tab if you don't want to hear my test scores. That's fine. So structure of step 2 is it's going to be 8 different blocks of 40 questions to 38 questions. The 38 question blocks are your drug passages, which are a combination of 3 questions combined to 1 drug ad. Those are annoying, but most of the passages most of the blocks are going to be 40 questions that don't also have those drug ads. So 8 times 40, roughly 320 questions on this exam. You have 8 hours of time to complete each block, or 8 hours of time because 1 hour of time per block, and then you have 1 hour of break. Now keep in mind on your break, the first 15 minutes tutorial time is counted in your break. So skip that tutorial time unless you really want to just sit there for a couple minutes, write some formulas and stuff. I wrote formulas, but I timed myself, like I practiced enough where I could do the formulas in a minute. So I only wasted a minute of my time. But yeah, and then you can space out those breaks however you like. Like I took a 5-minute break after every single block. And then towards the end when I was getting more tired, I took like 7 minutes. I was like, I have more time. And then after block 5, I took a 20-minute break to eat my lunch. And if you do timed 5-5-5 after every single block, you can still take a lunch break for 20 minutes. Then you can do your next few at 7-7. Because look, you got 8 blocks, so you got 7 different gaps, right? Between block 1 and 2, between block 2 and 3, between block 3 and 4, between block 4 and 5. Okay, 4 and 5, that's 5 times 4, that's 20 minutes gone, right? And then you take another 20-minute break after block 5, that's 40 minutes right there, right? And then after that, between 6 and 7, and between 7 and 8. And I took 7 and 7, 14. So that's a total of 54 minutes, and then like a minute or 2 for the tutorial formulas, 56 minutes. My break time was used on my exam. Okay, anyways, so now that you got the emotional roller coaster that I went through, here's what I did. So Uworld, beginning of January, I was doing Uworld in random order. I was just, just doing it 40 questions at a time, just random stuff. Wasn't really going well. I was like, you know what? I need to really narrow it down. I'm not learning anything. So I cut it down by topics like, internal medicine, surgery, peds, OB-GYN, all that stuff. And I did it like Monday, IM. And then Tuesday, surge. Wednesday, OB-GYN. I think Friday was peds. And Thursday was psych or something. And then Saturday, I do all random just to get a random flow in, you know? So I did that. I thought that was really, really helpful because it helped me narrow in on what I thought was weak and what my strengths were, figured out exactly where to focus my energy. And so once I started doing each topic, I eventually, like 3 months in, so around the end of March time, I started doing random. I went back to random, just doing everything at once because I was focused enough into the Uworld that I got the topics down that now I wanted to start mixing it up because I know on the real day it's going to be all mixed up. So I started mixing it up like end of March, and so the last like 2 months I was doing random. And during those last 2 months, I also was doing incorrect questions. So on Uworld, you have a tab that you can click incorrect on, and I wanted to go through my incorrects, and that was really, really helpful. Going through the stuff that I got wrong, and I kept getting wrong on some incorrects, but it really reinforced the stuff that I didn't know. And then I looked it up and read the explanations, which gets me to the next point on Uworld. You gotta make notes or some type of flashcards or something when you're correcting. Like when I go through question sets, I go through every single question, even the right ones, read the explanation or at least skim the explanation, get an idea of the points that I didn't know, write that down, and then get an idea what some of the answers were wrong if I was considering other ones. And I made a whole document, ended up being 483 pages or 85, something like that by the end of the whole study time. But that document was so golden. I wrote down everything from all Uworld questions, probably like twice over because I did a lot of incorrects and kept repeating stuff, and yeah. So make sure you're correcting your Uworld passages in some manner, whether that be writing down notes like I did, making Anki cards, or just some form that helps you. And then what I did was I made Anki cards on the Uworld questions that I had absolutely no idea and were like some memorization things, like especially for like OB-GYN, like this age you got to do this age this age you colposcopy, like 45-year-old premenopausal, you get a but they're 45 but they're premenopausal, but you do endometrial biopsy, that kind of stuff. Like those numbers I really did not know, so I made a separate Anki deck with those Uworld screenshots, and I just went through them over and over again until they got stuck in my mind. And then the structure I did my studying, well, during school and during rotations, was 2 blocks. I would do 1 block of 40 in the morning and 1 block of 40 in the afternoon or evening. But then towards the end, like the last month and a half, I had a lot of time off from school. My structure for school was pretty chill those last month and a half. I was doing 3 blocks. I would wake up, do 2 blocks in the morning, 40-40, and then afternoon, evening, I'd do 1 more block. And I'd correct every single one, so I did leave like an hour. It took me like an hour to do each block, and then took me like an hour to correct each block too. Towards the end of the 1.5 weeks, I stopped doing Uworld completely because I read this Reddit article and it really hit home. It was like, Uworld is great for content, but Uworld isn't the test makers. NVMe is the test makers. You know, their style of questions is very different than Uworld style of questions. Like Uworld gets you everything you need, but NVMe style is very different. And so I wanted to adapt to that, be ready, primed for the NVMe style. So I stopped Uworld and I started doing the NVMe CMS forms, which are like the pre-shelf exam ones, like IM 1 day, Surge 1 day, OB again, all those ones. I did that. And then on top of that, I started doing some Amboss passages too towards the last month and a half of my prep because I wanted to get some more content that was different from Uworld, like a totally different approach. So I would do a lot of those CMS forms and then like add and sprinkle a little bit of Amboss just to get some really whack questions. Amboss I think is even more whack than Uworld by far, but it was some good stuff. And we'll dive into Amboss in a little bit. So diving into Anki. I hinted at this before in my test section, but if you skip that, I failed one of my tests really bad. Like one of my practice tests did terrible. I think it was U1-3, got 174. I found Jonki because I panicked so much. I was like, I need to do something new. Jonki is an Anki deck based off of Uworld content. Basically all of the Uworld content condensed into an Anki deck. It's about 7,700 cards, I believe, or 7,500, something like that. I have a link below. You can click it, find it, download it. I thought it was amazing. At first when I downloaded it, I was gonna be scared. I was scared that like it was gonna artificially inflate my Uworld scores because it would be Uworld content, but it's not like direct Uworld content. Like it's not direct questions or whatever and answers. They give you the teachings of Uworld in Anki format. So I think that's golden because Uworld covers everything you need to know in terms of content. So if you have an Anki deck that has spaced repetition, scientifically proven to teach concepts and memorize stuff really well, I think that's a great way to learn step 2 concepts. So Janki, I think is better than Anki because Anki is 30K plus. But if you want to do Anki, it's probably going to be better in terms of every little detail. But Janki was more than enough. And then the other Anki I did was my personal deck, which I mentioned earlier in the Uworld section of just the Uworld stuff that I totally did not know and wanted to memorize. Okay, next section. Let's talk about Amboss. I did mention earlier that I did like one passage or a little bit less of Amboss during the last month and a half of prep. It was just to get new ideas flowing into my brain. It just new networks, neural networks I can make in case the day of the exam, like something whack was presented. But Amboss has something really cool. They have a section, if you have bought Amboss, you don't have to free trials. If you bought it, I think actually maybe free trials has it too. I read it on Reddit, but if you have Amboss and you go on there, you go under like sections or something, they have topics on 200 questions that cover, or it's like 200 topics that are covered on every step too. So literally they took 200 of the most common topics on step 2 and made a question bank out of them. Keep in mind, step 2 is 320 questions, and 200 of those that show up on every exam according to Amboss is right there. You basically get an idea of what the concepts are going to be. Now, it's not those exact concepts, but each of those answer choices are a concept in themselves that you should know. And I thought it was really helpful, really primed me up, and got me refined those little details that help me. Okay, next section, we're gonna talk about divine intervention. Take notes on everything he says. Okay, so he has 4 IM videos, super crucial, must watch. He has surgery video, great video. He has a peds video, great. OBGYN, great. These are crucial to getting the basic building blocks of step 2. And even Divine himself says, if you know everything of those 4 IM videos that I mentioned earlier, that's like almost all the IM content that you need to know. And IM is 60% of the exam. So watching these, like those 4 videos plus the other 3 videos, these 7 are gonna cover a lot of basic ground for you. Take notes on all of these, that's what I did. And then I have some must listen Divine podcasts. I'll have a list below as must listen Divine. I can't really explain it, but must watch all of these. They cover literally everything from like ethics to like patient care, transition of care, random small things, but very high yield. Because I got a lot of ethics questions on the real day. So Divine really saved me. Watch the link below in the must listen Divine podcast. Those are must listens. You have to listen to those to do well. Take notes on those, okay? And go with that. In terms of the other Divine stuff, the rapid review series, I wouldn't say these are must because I didn't go through all of them either, but I probably went through like 50 of them. I think there's a few hundred for step 2. They're just small like topics he just talks about for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I just listened to these when I was driving or working out, just getting some extra info into the brain. And I think it was really helpful. Go through them when you can. I didn't complete all of them, so I don't think they're a necessity to complete all of it, but as much as you can, I think it's an extra help. Go for it. And then this one, I found this on a Reddit post like a few days before I started doing this, but so free 120, we'll get into what test is taken a little bit, but free 120 is the free test on NBME website. It's called sample test. Take that the last thing before your real exam, okay? So I took it like 3 days before my actual exam, but the thing is, it doesn't give you explanations on stuff you got wrong, and it just show you what you got wrong. I got a 76% on that, so there's like 24% I know that I got wrong, but that doesn't tell you what. So Divine Intervention himself, Mr. Divine, he goes through every single question. He gives you his logic and how he's thinking through things, and boy, was it really insightful. There were a lot of things I was like, oh, I for sure got that right. Then he went through it, I was like, what? I would never have expected that. So go through his free 120 review. It's about 13 hours long. It's pretty insane. I watched it in one day because I needed to do it right after I took my free 120 because I had other things planned for the next couple of days before the real exam. So I sped it up at twice the speed, and I tried to listen to it as focused as I could. I took breaks, mental breaks to recover. It was hard, so worth it. Watch it. And Divine also has a stats video. Holy cow. This stats video was way better than I expected. I thought I knew stats. watched this video, then I knew stats. I'll link the link below. It's an hour-long podcast. Take notes on it. He has a PowerPoint that he goes through. The link I have below has the PowerPoint you can download too. So go through the PowerPoint and his audio at the same time, and I took notes too. Really, really great. He makes you understand stats, not memorize it, understand it. So yeah, watch that. So besides me praising Divine, because he's probably the reason I did well, we'll go on to the next section. Next section of random videos. So dirty medicine, I went back to this. If you watch my step 1 video, I promoted dirty medicine a lot during step 1 time, but I think dirty medicine is still great for step 2 because there's some basic concepts that show up again. I had to rewatch those basic concepts that I've watched many times for step 1. It was a good refresher, helped me get back in the zone for those questions, and I was ready to nail it. It was like biochem concepts I forgot, like lysosome storage diseases, all those acronyms to remember them. I don't remember them right now because I don't want to remember them. Let's be honest. But watch Dirty Medicine. It's great for those little videos. And if there's topics he doesn't cover, just YouTube it. There's someone out there that covered it. There's usually some short videos on it. Don't watch like 30-minute to an hour-long videos on that topic. There's people that have like 5-10 minutes just covering a topic, give you some acronyms, give you a way to understand the basics. Understanding the basics really well of one topic is enough to do well. You don't need to go into weeds, the latest research, just the basics of each topic. And then another video is the high yield stats review. I'll link it below. It's the same one I told everyone to use for step 1, same one people use all the time. I think it's great. He has 2 parts, 1 and 2. He goes over super basic stuff for stats, really great for foundation stuff. But again, I'm gonna emphasize, watch Divine's stats video on top of this. But I would watch this one first by this guy, the 2 parts he has, and then supplement it with Divine's stat stuff after. Next section, notes. So I had multiple different documents of notes. I had one document with all my Uworld incorrect, correct stuff, just everything I thought I didn't know onto a document. And then I combined my NVMe, Uworld, and practice exams onto that document. That was a 485 page document I was telling you guys about, and I reviewed like 30 pages a day, or that was the goal. Some days I couldn't because this, stuff happens and you're not able to, but I tried to review 30 pages a day of that document. And then the last 2 days before my real test, I reviewed half of it, so like 240 something Thursday, 240 something Friday. So I would have covered it over a span of 2 days because I just wanted to get through every single concept right before test day. And then I had another document of notes for Divine intervention stuff, all the stuff I mentioned earlier. I took notes on everything of Divine except the rapid views. So I made a document of that was like 100 to 105 pages. So I went through that like 20 pages a day, or tried to. That one I was really inconsistent on, but I went over it a few times, and especially before my exam, I really went through it. It was really good. And then the third section of notes that I went over often was all the random videos we just talked about in the previous section, like lysosomal storage diseases from Dirty Medicine, maybe a stats video from that one guy, some random YouTube videos on a topic I didn't know, like SLE, and I covered those. I had probably about 20 different notes on like topics, so I did like 5-6 topics, covered 5-6 of those notes. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what I did. Here's some tips of the test itself. I'm gonna read them out. So if you have a 38 question block, like I mentioned, it's a big drug ad. What drug ad? I mean, they literally give you a drug ad with statistics on it. It's probably gonna be a statistics question. It's usually nothing more than that. And reading the passage. The answer is usually in the passage. And if it's stats, they wanna use stuff from the passage to make you do stats to figure out an answer. They're kind of tricky. I'd probably get 50% of them right, but they're doable, You just need time. That's why the drug ad questions are 38 question passages. Lots of Divine. Guys, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Mr. Divine is amazing. He's gonna get you the score you need. Do his stuff, use his stuff, take notes, do flashcards, whatever it is that helps you learn, do it for Divine. The third tip I have is Divine. Yeah, I've emphasized this enough. We'll move on. Fourth tip I have, on my test I had like 1 or 2 questions that were straight step 1 drug questions. What is the function of this drug? I had totally forgotten any of this, but because I did sketchy form back in step 1 time, I remembered, the picture came in my head and I just remembered the action of it, and that really helped me the day of the test. So don't doubt that step 1 knowledge, exact step 1 stuff will come back to help you, because it helped me. Basic questions. So the test itself has a lot of basic questions. I don't know if this is recently, because I see this on a lot of Reddit people and people I know who take it. There's a lot of like, you just know the answer right away after reading it questions, so don't psych yourself out. There are a lot of basic, easy questions. If you get the answer in your head before like even get into the answer choices, that probably is the answer. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut instinct. Everyone says that, and I think that's very, very true. Go with your gut instinct for most of this exam. Only double, triple check if it's something really confusing. And I'd say probably like 65-70% of this exam is just straightforward stuff. This free 120, very similar to your test. Do this a couple of days before your test. Make sure to do that. And then speaking of tests, do NBME 13 and 14 also towards the latter half of your study time, because 13, 14 came out latest and they have a very different style than 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 13, 14 keep towards the end. And then last but not least, do free 120 right before your test. Plan out your snacks and what you're gonna drink way before test day. Every time I took a practice test, I emulated every single thing I could. I would get up, have a time of 5 minutes. I'd have almonds, cashews, walnuts. It was a mix of nuts. And I had green tea. Towards the end, I started changing it to black tea because I needed more caffeine. And then I went to the bathroom, washed my hands, came back, and I timed it all within that 5-minute period. And so keep in mind that the practice tests are only 4 passages long, but 50 questions each, so 200 questions. And the test is around 320, so you need to do 120 more to emulate a full exam. That's about 3 Uworld passages that I added on after. So I did Uworld passages right after my the NBME practice exam, so that I could emulate a full scenario test day. And I really recommend you guys do that, so you get a feel for how test day is going to go and how tired you're going to be, or how efficient you're going to be. Just, getting a feel of everything. The best way to do something is to prepare exactly how it's going to present. So the next thing is go scout out your test center. I think scouting out your test center is a great idea. I always tell everyone to do this. This is the test center I went to back for step 1, but I still wanted to go see it because it's been a year, so I went back, walked around the building. The actual office was closed where I was going to take the test, but just walked around, mapped where the bathroom was, saw where the water fountains were, where I could walk if I wanted to walk a little bit more. And yeah, so scout out your test place. I think it's a really great way for you to just feel comfortable during the test. One more thing I want to mention before I wrap up, I took an old free 120 as well. So there's multiple free 120s. If you go on the links, they have the old stuff on there. I did the old free 120 after NBME 14. NBME 14, I did the 4 passages and then the 120 questions. Instead of doing Uworld passages, I did old free 120. I think I got 80% exactly on that. Do I recommend you guys do that? I mean, sure, if you want extra practice, but I think the style was so different than what any other exams are on the old free 120 that it's not amazing. But if you want extra practice, go for it. I think it's worth it. Get that extra practice. And yeah, that summarizes, I think, everything I did for step 2. You gotta have something in mind and work towards it. You can't just aimlessly being, I'm gonna work towards a very high goal, as high as I can go. I'll be happy with putting in my best effort. Because if I did that, my best effort might have been 230s, 240s. I was never gonna be satisfied with that because I told myself 250 is the goal. I told myself for that for so long. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not a 270, 260 type of guy. I thought 250s was gonna be a challenge for me, and that 250s would be good enough for me to get into decent residencies. I'm still applying to residency, so I don't know about that fact, but I got to the 250. I actually went above it. I literally only cared for 250, 252, 2 more points. Sure, I'll take it. But yeah, very gruesome journey. Learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about the law of attraction. You gotta have something in mind, and you gotta believe that you will do it. You gotta fight for it. Every ounce of strength. When people around you are like, you know what, it's okay if you don't get 250. You get 240, you're fine. Get 230s, you're fine. No, I told myself I'm not fine. I want that 250. I need that 250. I'm gonna do everything in my power to do that. Never reached it on any of my NBME exams. My free 120 was within range of a 250 in terms of percentages, but actual number, I never got a 250. But I employed every single knowledge I had, reviewed every single note I had right before the exams, made sure I didn't make silly mistakes, was in full zoned in mode day of the test, and got it done. You too. make sure you have a goal in mind, you stay calm, you fight for it, and very, very crucial that you're adaptable. Because as you saw in my test scores, I went up, down, up, down, up, down. It's a wild ride, and you gotta adapt. When you fail, understand why you're failing, change your progress, change the way you're studying, change the stuff you're studying, and there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. So stay calm, stay collected, stay focused. You can achieve anything you want. Just work towards it, but work towards it smart. Not just work hard, work smart. You got this, all right? Let's do this. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. You can DM me. Wish you all the best. Stay happy, stay healthy, everyone. Goodbye.